Hello, everyone. I know what you're thinking. There is no way Mrs. Roberts can have us do another close read today. But you're wrong. We will be close reading again. And do you know why we'll be close reading again? Because Mrs. Roberts loves close reading. That is how you learn so very much about a text. So again, we're going to do a practice close read. And today we're going to do something about the COVID-19 vaccines or medical innovation because Eden sent me a request for text about medical innovation. If you send me a request for text, I will give you a text. Don't you worry. So we're going to be working with this nonfiction text again today. We're going to be practicing our close reading strategies, remembering that good readers have to read a text multiple times to learn everything they can. You should have your copy of this text from Miss Karsten. You may mark it up on your screen or on a print version as I read. For the first cold read, I will read you the text and you should circle words you do not know. Circle words you do not know. Moderna vaccine for COVID-19 appears nearly 95% effective by Aaron Garcia de Jesus. The week of November 16th is the second week in a row that a major drug maker has issued data indicating that its new vaccine could be successful at fighting COVID-19. Preliminary results indicate that this coronavirus vaccine by Moderna Inc. is nearly 95% effective in preventing sickness. These results are the first clinical validation that our vaccine can prevent COVID-19 disease, says Stephanie Bancel in a news release. Bancel is the company's chief executive officer. Moderna, based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, developed the vaccine together with the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. It's in Bethesda, Maryland. Moderna, a biotechnology company, announced its promising data on November 16th. This is an early release of their data. So far, those data have not yet been analyzed by outside scientists in a process known as peer review. Just last week on November 9th, global drug maker Pfizer and German biotech company BioNTech announced their coronavirus vaccine is more than 90% effective in keeping people from getting sick. If both vaccines continue to do well in clinical trials, the United States could soon have 2 vaccines available to treat those most at risk of coming down with COVID-19. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration sometimes grants emergency use of drugs before they have passed through all the normal steps required to approve new drugs. In the coming weeks, both Moderna and Pfizer plan to apply for this early use of their new vaccines. Moderna's results come from an analysis of 95 coronavirus cases. All had emerged among recruits taking part in its phase 3 clinical trial of the vaccine. Researchers tallied who fell ill but didn't start this count until at least 2 weeks after someone had received their second shot. Of the people who got sick, 90 had received an ineffective placebo. Only 5 had gotten the true vaccine. Based on those data, the vaccine appears 94.5% effective, but those numbers could change because the trial is still ongoing. Moderna plans to follow participants for 2 years to monitor how safe its vaccine is and how long its protections last. What we don't know. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, recommends that COVID-19 vaccines be at least 50% effective. That means the treatment should reduce COVID-19 cases by half compared with no treatment or a placebo. But how well a vaccine works can fall over time. Then a booster shot may be needed, or the coronavirus that causes COVID-19 may morph genetically to where a revised version of the vaccine may be needed. So far, no one knows how well the vaccine will work over the course of a year or more. It is not known whether the new vaccine works equally well in all ages or racial groups. The vaccine makers are trying to gauge that, however. The Moderna trials has included some older participants and people from different racial backgrounds. So far, of those who got sick, 15 of the 95 people were over the age of 65. Another 20 cases were Hispanic, Black, Asian, or multiracial, all groups that have been especially hard hit during the pandemic. As of October 22nd, 30,000 people had enrolled in Moderna's late-stage clinical trial. At that point, not all had been fully vaccinated. Thousands still needed to receive both shots, which are given 1 month apart. The Moderna results do hint that people who get the vaccine may not get severely ill if they do become infected. So far, 11 people in the new trial got very, very sick with COVID-19. All were in the group that got a placebo. It is encouraging to see these early results that show the vaccine can cut the risk of severe disease, says Nina Luning-Prack. She's an immunologist who works at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 11 is still a small number, she adds, but it's 11 out of 11 versus 0 on the other side. That's what makes even that small number encouraging. It is not clear whether the vaccine cuts risk of infection. Some people may get COVID-19, but just a mild case, one so mild that symptoms never emerge. And if that's true for vaccinated people, can they still infect others? No one knows yet. Side effects after the second injection of Moderna's vaccine have been mild to moderate. Some people got tired, headache, or felt joint pain. How the vaccine works. Both Moderna and Pfizer's vaccines rely on messenger RNA, known as mRNA. It's a genetic molecule that a cell uses to read the instructions needed to build proteins. The mRNA in these vaccines contains instructions to build the spike protein for which the coronavirus gets its name. That protein helps the virus enter human cells. The vaccine allows our cells to make the spike protein. Our immune system can make the antibodies to latch on to those spike proteins. Those antibodies may later prevent the real virus from infecting us. To date, no vaccine using mRNA technology has ever been used in people. If such vaccines prove successful, this approach might speed up the vaccine-making process. That's one benefit of the mRNA approach, says Luning-Prack. Within a matter of essentially minutes, you could basically design a vaccine. That's because all researchers need is the genetic code for the specific protein of the virus they are targeting. One example is that spike protein in coronavirus. Other types of vaccines need cells grown in labs to make millions of doses. Choosing the right viral proteins to get the best immune response may still prove tricky, Luning-Prack says. But the mRNA vaccine clearly has promise, she believes. One benefit of Moderna's vaccine, it's not as heat sensitive as the Pfizer BioNTech drug. That vaccine must be kept frozen at an ultra cold -70 degrees Celsius, -94 degrees Fahrenheit. That need to keep it super cold can make moving Pfizer's vaccines to where it will be used potentially difficult. Moderna's vaccine, in contrast, remains stable for 30 days at refrigerated temperatures, between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius, 36 and 46 degrees Fahrenheit. That could help bring the vaccine to people in areas without easy access to dry ice or the specialized freezers needed for the Pfizer vaccine. Okay, so now that we have finished the article, you should have circled words you don't know. Ms. Cartston will pause you here to make a list together of the words you don't know. You can talk about context to figure out what those words are, or just look up the solution together. I'm going to pause so that you can do that. Excellent work discussing words you do not know. For your first read, so now your first independent read, you are going to focus on this section on my screen, how the vaccine works. Your question is to reread this section and then, using evidence from the text, explain how the Moderna vaccine affects the body. Explain how the vaccine affects the body. You should write 1 to 2 sentences. Ms. Cartston will pause me here so you can spend a few minutes to review and write the answer to how the vaccine affects the body. Great work. So you might have paid attention to elements such as the mRNA, how the genetic molecule builds instructions to create proteins in the body. You may have talked about how those antibodies will defend us from the virus. You might have mentioned that it had some side effects, but what we really wanted to look at was the scientific part in this section. There are other elements that you could have referred to. And if you did, that's fine. Just remember my question was specific to this section. All right, so for your second read, you are only going to look at two things. And they are the images in this article. So we have one image here, and it has a little bit of detail underneath. Then we have another image here, and I'm going to scroll down and zoom in, even though you should have this. So, read 2. Review both images in depth in this article. How do these images help you to understand how the Moderna vaccine works and affects the body? How do they help you understand? So, when I ask you a question like, how does it help you understand? We have to talk about what it shows and then how it helps you understand it. So think about those words. How does this visual representation help you understand what's happening? Not just what's happening. I don't need to know just what's happening. I want to know how it helps you understand and make sense of the mRNA. Or in the other image, what a vaccine is and how it's administered. So for this, you're going to write 3 sentences, okay? And you're focused on those 2 images. So Ms. Cartston will pause me here so that you can review those images and write your 3 sentences. Great work. I hope you talked about the stages of how this image shows us that it moves from vaccine to what happens inside and the outcome. I hope maybe someone called attention to the fact that it's not drawn to scale. So the antibodies and the immune system don't look this size. That's important to know. But I hope you discussed how the image shows you what all these words mean. mRNA, spike protein, I don't know what any of that means. I did not go to med school. I went to school for English. So these visuals help me understand what they mean by spike proteins, viral proteins, what it looks like, how the things move around inside, the fact that the mRNA teaches my cells what to do and then eventually makes these antibodies that attach to the virus. The visual helps us to understand that. Then up here, this image also shows us how a variety of people are involved in figuring this out, right? This is a participant in the trial. So this is just a guy who volunteered to be a part of a trial where he got this drug that he doesn't even know if it's going to work or not, but he is here ready to help. And you could have even noticed that he's a rabbi. So we have a variety of people willing to participate in ending this pandemic. And that helps me understand why it's so important. All right, for your final read, your third read, you are going to write a paragraph, which remember is 5 sentences minimum, explaining the central idea of this text. Use at least 2 details from the article to support your response. So to do that, you need to ask yourself, what is the most important element from this text? Some things are not needed. For instance, let's just say where Moderna is or where the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases are. These things don't really matter. What does matter from this article? What do they want you to know? And include 2 details in your paragraph. Then after you've written, hopefully Ms. Cartston can have you all share out what you feel the main ideas were. There is not necessarily a right answer, especially if you've proven your point with evidence. There could be a wrong answer if you're going to talk about ice cream. Probably has nothing to do with this text, although now I want some ice cream. So, reread, write a paragraph, and share out. Have a fantastic day.